Have you got a lawn that's looking a bit tired? Maybe it's full of moss, holes or bare patches. Well, today on Fix It with Fowler, I'm going to show you how to renovate your lawn and get it ready for the summer. Moss loves to take over lawns that don't get enough sunlight, stay damp or have poor drainage, and this north facing lawn is a perfect example. This gets very little sunlight throughout the day, and that's why this particular area is full of moss. But don't worry, it's really simple to get rid of. The first thing you need to do is physically remove the moss from the lawn itself, and you've got two options for that. You can use a chemical based product or a lawn treatment that will get in and kill the moss itself. You then need to mechanically remove it, and for me that is a waste of time, effort and money, and I don't like using chemicals in the garden. So for me, I skip that step completely and just get myself one of these garden rakes. Now you can use a scarifier, however that's going to cost you money to hire one. So to remove this moss is really simple. Get your rake and just scrape towards you like this, and you'll see that it already starts to pull the moss out. Now you've removed the moss from the lawn itself, the next stage is to make the lawn healthy, and the best way to do that is to aerate the lawn. Now you've got a few options for that. You can have a mechanical machine to do it, you can have something like this that takes out plugs out of the garden itself, but for most people the easiest method is to use a garden fork, and you can just stick that in the ground, rock it backwards and forwards, and keep repeating that over your lawn. Now this will take a little bit of time, but it will cost you nothing. To give the lawn a bit of a boost after that treatment, you can then add some topsoil or some compost, sprinkle that over the area. Obviously I've only done this patch, but I need to do all the lawn. Now once you've done that, you can then just give that a light brush with something like this, brush that in well, and that'll then feed and treat your lawn. Now if you've got large bare patches, then the best thing to do is to reseed that area, and if you want to know how to do that, wait till later on in the video, because I've got a whole section dedicated to seeding your lawn. On to holes in your lawn then. If you've got family members that like to dig or create a bit of damage to your lawn, then this is the perfect solution. So here you can see somewhere where Otis has been digging, and the first thing you need to do is get rid of any of this debris out the hole itself. The next thing you need to do is tidy up the edges of this hole, and the reason for that is when you come to put the turf in, it will be really difficult to cut that sort of shape. So if you just get your spade, take out any of these bits. Now the edges are vertical, don't worry too much about the shape, so long as the edges are straightish, it'll make it a lot easier to put the turf in. And now you can remove any of this stuff that you've dug out from around the edges. To fill the hole, you need to use something like this, some good quality topsoil. The reason you don't want to use compost is because over time the organic matter in the compost will degrade, and this will end up sinking, and you'll end up with a bit of a divot in your lawn. So get yourself some good quality topsoil and fill the hole. So now you've filled the hole up with your topsoil, you just need to press that down. Otherwise, once you put your turf in and then water it, this will all sink. Now, if you leave it at that, we can now cut the turf to suit, and then using a bit of topsoil, we can bring that up to exactly the right level. So here I've got some really good quality turf from a local nurseries, which is ideal for these instant repairs. Now the way to cut this to fit this hole is really simple. What I like to do is unroll it over the hole itself, and then you can see it dips down already. And then what you need is a sharp kitchen knife. So you can see that's the edge of the hole because you can feel where it dips. So if you just cut the edge of that turf off, and then you can move that out of the way. So get your turf into position, and the first thing I'd recommend is putting your knife through the turf near the edge and gradually working it around the turf, and that way you're going to follow the edge of the hole. If you do make a mistake and cut too much off the turf, don't worry, because you can fill the hole back up with any offcuts, and once it's established it will all knit together. So now you've got your turf roughly cut to the right shape. Don't worry if it doesn't quite fit, because when you come to press it into place you can stretch it a bit or you can bunch it up and it'll fit nicely. So you can see there's a bit of a dip still, so what we need to do is add some more topsoil, and this is a bit of a trial and error. Keep adding the soil until you get it to the right level, and then once you're at the right level we'll do the next step. So once you're happy that that's about level, before you leave the turf in the final position, if you've got access to any of this, which is bloodfish, meal and bone, if you get some of that, give that a light sprinkling. That's a really good fertiliser, and it will give your grass something really good to feed on while it grows. And now you can get this put into place, and then just push the edges right in. And now you can press that into position with your foot. So now the turf is in place, the next thing you need to do is look after it. So you need to make sure that you keep this well watered, otherwise all that's going to happen is this will dry out and it won't root into the new topsoil beneath it. Have you subscribed to my channel? Well, if not, why not? It does not cost a thing. You're missing out on loads of great content. If I'm not making things like this, I'm fixing shed roofs, I'm mending doors, windows, doing plumbing or electrics. You name it, I've got it on my channel. So head over, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to leave this video a comment and a thumbs up, and that will help it reach loads of other people. Most lawns have bare patches, either big or small like this, and that can be caused from a few different reasons. It could be from overhanging plants or shrubs, or from general wear and tear from animals or foot traffic. So the best way to fix larger areas is not with turf, but to actually use seed. But you can't just sow seed directly onto this ground, because it will just sit on top and actually won't germinate and take into the soil. So the first thing you need to do is loosen this soil up and prepare it. There's loads of different tools and methods you can use for breaking this soil up, but you only need to do the first few centimetres or so, just to give the seed something good to start growing in. So you can use a fork or something like this. It depends really on the soil and how hard it is. So I'm going to start by using this fork and going all over this soil and breaking it up. Now this is really heavy clay, so actually it's not very easy at all. So that's the soil all broken up. And as you can see, there's all this plastic in it. Now, I think this plastic was from the original turf. Looks like that's how it was made. So I want to get rid of quite a lot of this, really, as much as I can, before I lay the seed. The other thing I want to do, because this soil is such poor quality, it's just clay, I'm going to skim some of this off with my spade, get rid of that, and then replace it with some nice topsoil. And that way it'll give the seeds something really good to get a good start into. Now the soil is all broken up and loose and I've got rid of most of that plastic. The next thing is to top dress this soil. And again, you don't want to use compost because it's going to shrink and move over time. What you want is the good old topsoil again. So if you apply that to the top, and then there's a few ways you can spread this out and get it level. You can use a rake and spread it out roughly. And then using the back of the rake, you can then sort of level that off. Now, if you want to get it super level and be super easy, the best thing to do is get yourself a broom or a brush and then just give that a nice gentle sweep, and that will just blend that lovely into the existing level without you really doing too much work. That is not the finished product. You now need to walk over it, use tiny steps like this and flatten it all down, and then we can redress it again with the topsoil. Now we're ready to apply the seed. Now there's loads of different seed you can get depending on what area of the garden you're going to be sowing it in. Now this particular area is quite shady, so I've opted for this shady lawn seed. Now if you've got an area of high traffic, you can get hard wearing grass seed, and if you want quick results, I have used this in the past in the middle of the garden, and that is pretty good. So to apply the seed to this, all these boxes come with its own sprinkler. Really simple to use. You just follow the instructions. And then you've got a nice thing. You can then just sprinkle that out. Now don't stand up and hold it too high, because what's going to happen is you're going to end up with seed going everywhere, all into the borders and places you don't want it. So now you can just gently apply that. It doesn't matter if you put too much on, because in a minute we're going to just go over it with a brush and spread it out. So now your seed's applied, I would get yourself with a brush again or the back of a rake and just give this a real light going over. And what that'll do is it'll push the seed into the soil itself, and that way you won't lose loads of it to the birds or to wildlife in general. So once you're happy that the seed is all applied and covered into the right places, the next thing you need to do is water it. And you need to keep this well watered. I'd recommend doing it twice a day. Keep your eye on it. If it's hot weather like it is today, you may need to do it more often. If you don't, this will just all dry out and the seed that you've scattered won't germinate. To go one step further and give these seeds the best start you can, then what I recommend is getting yourself some of this garden fleece. You want the lightest weight possible, and this is 17 grams per square metre. You don't really want anything heavier, because it won't let the sunlight through enough. So all you need to do is get some of this, unroll it, fold it out, drape it over this area, peg the corners down, and you can get yourself some of these pegs. Really simple to put in the ground. You just hammer them in straight through the fleece, cover this area, and that'll keep the birds off, insects off. But more importantly, it will keep the area a little bit moist, which means you won't have to water so often. So that's the seed all finished and the fleece is installed, and now you can leave that. Now it's going to take about 4 weeks for that fully to germinate, and you don't want to mow it or trim it or anything until this grass is established, and you need to wait until it's about 10 centimetres in length. When you get to that, you can remove this fleece, give it its first cut, set the mower on a nice high height. Once you've gone over it once, leave it for a week or so, and then you can drop the height down. Use a gradual process, and that way you'll end up with a really good lawn. So if you found these few tips useful and helpful, please leave me a comment, give the video a thumbs up, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon for some more great DIY videos.